What's going on, everybody? Steve here at Rake and Profit over at rakeandprofit.com. Coming back to you with another video with my main man, Dominic, with Primetime Treasure Hunter.
What's up, Steve?
Hey,
Awesome
man.
to be here, man.
It's great to have you here.
Thank you.
He's from Syracuse,
Yeah.
New York,
Yeah.
and we're in Connecticut right now. And in this video, we're going to be talking about finding treasures in unexpected places.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
Yeah.
There's so many people who they go sourcing and they're not looking around, they're not paying attention, and it's like they complain that I can't find anything at estate sales, I can't find anything at garage sales and thrift stores, and it's like, open up your eyes, look around.
Absolutely, and I love doing that, and that's one of the reasons why I call myself the Primetime Treasure Hunter. It's not the only reason, but it's one. And one of the things I really like to do is not just look directly in front of me at what's on the table. I like to look all over the place. A good recent example was I was at an estate sale, and there was a big bookshelf that was stacked with magazines. And underneath it, there were some manila file folders, but you had to move things to get to it. And this was a couple hours into the sale, and no one was interested enough to go and look what was in that manila file folder. And on the video, I actually say, I bet there's something good in that file folder. So I take everything off, I get to the bottom, I pull it out, and there's these really old vintage photographs of Roy Rogers and Gene Autry.
No way.
And comic book stuff from the 1950s. Not comic books, but like little pull-out posters of like Little Lulu and just some other old characters, like Woody Woodpecker and stuff like that, like really old stuff. And I actually wound up reselling that stuff for a really high value, and I got it for like nothing, because when you bring it to check out, they just think it's a manila file folder. So yeah. That's it. So,
Why do you think that most people who go to thrift stores and garage sales and estate sales, why do they just rush around? Like if you ever, and the funny thing is Dominic's a neuropsychologist,
right,
so he's
right.
always watching, he's observing, right?
Right.
And we were talking before this video, and he said, I noticed that most people, they'll just skim the top of a box, or they'll walk in completely past the door. They won't even look at the cabinets or the shelves or up or below.
Right.
Why are most people in such a rush? Because you think that, as a picker, you're picking, you're a hunter, you're hunting down, you're looking, you're supposed to be like kind of diving deep and looking between nooks and crannies. Why is the average reseller, and again, this is just based from watching, observe when you're in these stores and whatnot,
Yeah.
why is the average reseller just kind of rushing around and not spending that extra time?
I think there's some reasons for it. I mean, I think one reason is that we are in a society, and we talk about societal kind of trends and stuff. We are in a society that tends more towards instant gratification now. So basically, when someone sees a box that's filled with stuff, if it's not right there on the top, then they don't want to take the time to go digging and pull stuff out. They say, oh, it's just going to take too long.
Yeah, I don't want to get my hands dirty.
Right. So there's a lot of impatience that comes along with that. And then sometimes there's just, there are some people who are just lazy. I mean, they're not lazy enough that they didn't go to the sale. But then when they're there, they're just, they're not willing to sometimes put in the extra work. Like I talked about moving all those items off of the shelf. I mean, they could see that, but they just say, I don't want to deal with it. Or another thing is, maybe it has nothing to do with laziness in some instances. A person just sees so much stuff at the sale that they're just running from room to room to room because they think there might be the best treasure somewhere else, and they're not seeing it in the room they're in. They're worried someone else is going to get it. So then they run to the other room and run to another room. I don't do that. I stay in one room. I process that entire room.
Interesting.
Yep. And then I move out of that one and I go on to the next one. And I've shown this from time to time again at my videos, and that there's still plenty of treasures left over in those rooms, even if you go in 2-3 hours later, because people just leave stuff there. Yeah.
Now I'm curious, when you're going into a estate sale or a thrift store, and for the people watching, I'm curious what your opinion is as well. Are you typically focusing on one specific niche? Are you digging through all the clothing? Because obviously if you go to a thrift store, for example, you can't really look through everything.
Right.
Glassware,
right.
Books, clothing, toys. You'd be there for 8 hours.
Yeah.
So what's your mindset on that? Like for the beginners, for the people who are just getting started, should you first pick a niche or a certain section of the store or the estate sale and focus on that? Or what's your mindset, Dominic?
I think that you should focus first on what it is that you know best. And then from there, start branching out into newer things. So if what you know best, Steve, is comic books, then if there happen to be comic books, but you don't usually find those at sales, but maybe it's just regular books, or maybe it's clothes, Then you're going to go hit the closets, because a lot of these estate sales do have full closets of clothes to look through, and so you go there. For me, since I specialize in vintage, what I do is I hit the basement first or the attic, unless I know in advance from looking at the ads online, because sometimes there's ads for the estate sales that show some pictures to draw people in, and you might see a room that's filled with vintage Budweiser stuff and say, you know what, when I get there, I want to get to that room first, so I'm going to make sure I try to hit that up. And while you're standing in the door, if you know the estate sale deal, you might say, what direction is that room with the Budweiser? And so you make sure you get that first before other people. So, but if you don't know anything about it and you're just having to pick, basement, attic, because that's where people store the most stuff that's old and vintage, and a lot of the valuable stuff is there in those places.
Interesting. I have a question, again, for everybody. This is kind of like an open forum. That's the cool thing about these YouTube videos. How do you deal with competition when, because we're talking about finding stuff in unexpected places, and I find that a lot of resellers, especially the new resellers, and I was like this when I first got started, I would maybe walk into a thrift store to go scan books, and I'd see another reseller there scanning, and I would say, oh, I'm just going to leave. And it's like...
I remember that video. I remember you doing a video on that.
I used to be terrified. My mother and I, we would literally like hide the phone. We didn't want anybody to know what we were doing. Should you still be, looking through every nook and cranny and going under things and over things and really, diving hard when you see the competition there? Because especially with estate sales, garage sales, I feel like the average reseller, and again, I did the same thing, we're scared and we don't even look even in the wide open when we see competition.
I mean, I'm naturally a competitive person. I used to play a lot of sports and stuff, so I love just being competitive, but I don't take it to the point where I'm barreling people over at garage sales and estate sales to get to a particular item. So you try to be respectful, but just competitive in terms of trying to outwit people and trying to outmaneuver people. Like I said, if you could use strategy and research to get to a certain room ahead of other people. But you also have to be smart. Like a good example, Steve, speaking of Budweiser, was I recently went to an estate sale where there were 3 Budweiser ice boxes there. Now, they originally were $10 a piece. Ooh. And I made a deal with the estate sale dealer. In fact, she came up to me with the deal proposal because we have a good relationship. I go to a lot of her sales. She said, if you buy all 3 of them, I'll give them to you for $6 a piece. Now, I wound up flipping each one of those for $50 each.
Locally?
No, I shipped them. They cost less than $10 to ship, so it was a nice return on investment. And there happened to be another reseller there. And when she heard that the estate sale dealer said, you could have them for $6 a piece.
Don't say she upped it.
No. The estate sale dealer was cool. It was the competitor who then said,
I'll give 8.
The competitor said, $6 a piece. She said, could I have one of them? So she wanted me to give her one of them for $6 a piece.
That happened to me in a store before too, but keep going. That's
So it was a very awkward situation, and the estate sale dealer said, you know what? I gave him the deal. You have to talk with him about it now. And I didn't want to be mean and just say, no, and like storm off. But I just looked at her. I kind of shook my head a little, just kind of turned around, and that was it. And she didn't pursue it any further. But it was just a very, like, I would never ask another person that question. Like, if a person got a deal, they got a great deal, like, that's great. They got a deal.
Yeah.
I'm talking about, by the way, a competitor. I'm not talking about like someone from the public who maybe you bought all. Yeah, okay.
I got something for you because this is crazy. I was in Austin, Texas with, the Bonafide Hustler.
Oh, absolutely.
He's a big, jacked Asian dude. Like,
me and him need to go in somewhere and just like go just crush like a thrift store or something, right?
But anyways, he's like, this guy's like 6'8". It's like, you think that nobody would mess with your deal. The same with Bonafide, but we're at a garage sale, right? We're at a garage sale and we're looking at this bicycle. And Chris is a really nice guy. Like, he's a super sweet guy. Like, he's not going to fight or argue with anybody.
Right.
So take that into context with this story. But he's down on his knee and he flipped a road bike over and he was kind of spinning the pedals and checking the tires and the frame. And he asked the person who was running the garage sale, how much is this bike? And they said $100. I think the bike was worth like $350. And he was just getting ready to do the deal, but he was going through his inspection.
Yep.
And a guy comes over and said, $100? I'll give you $150 cash right now. And Chris is a nice guy. Chris is the type of guy where like he's just gonna let it go because he's so smart and he can find another deal.
Yeah.
The guy literally just bought the bike right from under him.
Really?
And we were just like, what a jerk! Like, you know what I mean? And then the person running it says, well, hey, if he's going to pay $150 and he sold it. And it's like, you've got to be careful. you've got to be careful with that. It's going to happen every now and then. So if you do find a deal, pay as quick as you possibly can and get it over with, because people will put you in awkward situations.
Yeah, and put a hand on your item if you want to
Yes.
keep it. Hover over it. I once had a guy, Steve, who came in at a garage sale. I was in a corner and I was buying these thimbles. There were like 200 thimbles in the thimble containers. Guy comes over to my corner. I was looking up the comps, but I was right over them. And a guy comes in. He reaches his hand over and tries to grab the thimbles. And I made sure he did not get them. I told him, like, no, those are mine. He's like, you're looking stuff up on your phone. and I said to him, I go, what? I can't look stuff up on my phone? I go, it's 2018 or 19, whatever
You're
it is.
cheating,
People
bro.
can look at their phone. And it turns out I wound up getting the thimbles. And funny thing is, someone sent me an offer on them on eBay, and for like complete lowball, and said you'll never sell them for what you want to sell them for. Like try to convince you, talk you down. It was someone else, but turns out I wound up flipping them for like $200. It was like crazy. It was a great flip. But you do have to assert yourself sometimes, but don't get into a fight.
Yeah. So hopefully you guys enjoyed this video. Make sure that you look in unexpected places.
Look all over. Look up. Look down. Look sideways. Look below. Look. Just think outside the box.
Think outside the box.
Yeah.
And for the people out there who are complaining, and I know it's probably not you watching, but there's people out there who complain, I can't find enough stuff at thrift stores, there's not enough inventory, this and that. Well, it might be getting harder over time with technology and phones and YouTube and Facebook, and people are learning about reselling. There's still so many opportunities, but for people complaining, just realize spending a little extra time digging and looking in unexpected places, and keeping a positive mindset as well. Like if you go into a store and you have a negative mindset, the competition, there's no inventory, prices are too high, something psychologically happens where you just don't find stuff. But if you're optimistic and positive and you go outside the box, you'll definitely find some inventory. So appreciate you.
Hey, thanks, brother.
Appreciate you coming on. Be sure to
Absolutely.
subscribe to his YouTube channel, Primetime Treasure Hunter. Links will be down in the description. But with that being said, keep on picking and making that money, and we'll see you in the next one. Peace.